There is something so satisfying about a fresh start. The new year is a great time to think about fresh starts. The new year is an organic fresh start. It seems silly that one day to the next could mark the beginning of something new or different, but the calendar changes to mark a new year, which can be a great time for new beginnings. This is why so many people make New Year's resolutions. The last few years, I have incorporated new habits and really pushed myself outside of my comfort zone. 2 years ago, in 2024, I decided to focus on travel, and that year I took several trips, including a solo road trip. Last year, I ended up taking several trips as well, and moving into 2026, I already have 4 trips in the works. At the end of 2024, I started a new habit of lifting weights at the gym, and now, nearly a year and a half later, it has become part of my weekly routine. In 2025, I wanted to focus on reading and walking more. Both of these habits I have successfully incorporated into my routines. If you have been around, you know I also did a no-buy year in 2025. I know I wasn't fully successful, but I made huge strides with my spending habits, and I know this will carry over into my future. I wanted to talk about what I want to do now that my no-buy year is over. I definitely want to be more intentional with my spending, and the one practical rule that I decided to make for myself is that I can't purchase more than 3 items each month. This will include items for events or trips as well. I really wanted to put some boundaries on myself so that I don't slip back into my old spending habits. Something else I'm thinking about doing just as a way to cut back on spending is to get coffee out less often and choosing local coffee spots if I do get coffee out. I honestly don't get coffee out that often, maybe not compared to other people. I only allow myself 1 time a week unless I am traveling, but I definitely want to start trying out more local coffee spots instead of just getting Starbucks. But please let me know your thoughts about this or your ideas. I would love to hear from you. one thing, the major thing I think I learned in my no buy year was most of the time you don't need it. Most of the time when we go shopping, we really don't need the thing that we're shopping for. And I actually was really wanting to do kind of a refresh in my bedroom. I really wanted to get a new comforter and maybe even a new rug. And basically, I just decided I don't need to do that. I don't need to spend that money. And this comforter that I have, basically I'm just kind of like over the color of it. I like the color, it's just I've had this bedding and this aesthetic, I guess, for the last few years, and I just wanted something new and different. But I realized, why don't I just flip the comforter over? I've actually done that with this comforter in the past, and part of what I was wanting was more of a light and fresh look, and I don't know if that's just related to me heading into the new year or what, but luckily the other side of this comforter is like an oatmeal linen color, and while I was looking at white for comforters, I decided this will suffice to lighten up the space and to make it just feel a little bit different and new and fresh. And I could also use the duvet insert. We really don't like duvet covers because regardless of whether you tie the corners or not, it just gets all discombobulated while you sleep, and it's super annoying to have to readjust it every morning when I'm making the bed. But I could use the duvet insert on top of our bed because it is white if I really wanted to go that route in the future. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with this other side of the comforter look. It's the duvet insert is quite warm, and that was another reason we decided to remove the duvet cover from our bed earlier. And I usually do just throw on the white duvet cover with the insert, but like I mentioned, it's too warm and it's also really difficult to wrangle and make the bed every day. But I just really want to get serious moving into 2026 of taking what I learned from my no buy year and bringing it with me into the future, not just checking the box like, okay, I did my no buy year, now I'm going to go on my merry way with my life. Instead, I'm going to really evaluate what I learned from doing a no buy year and try to make changes moving forward. But for now, this is how I'm gonna leave my bed a little bit lighter and brighter as we head into the new year. In 2026, the main thing I want to focus on is less time on entertainment. Throughout this year, I have been working on monotasking more often, not always listening to music or podcasts, YouTube videos, or Marco Polos while I'm trying to do other simple tasks. I've been working on focusing on one task at a time in order to be more present in each thing that I'm doing. In my paper planner, there was space to plan out my year, my goals, values, and priorities. I mentioned this in last week's video when I talked about my 2025 planner. I actually purchased the exact same planner for 2026 because it helped me to stay on track. In this planner, there is a space to write a word for the year, and I decided my word would be focus. I feel like at this time of my life, it is easy to lose focus. Not only am I dealing with the effects of perimenopause, which includes struggling to stay focused mentally, but I also have more margin in my life, and it can be easy to fill up that margin with things that don't make a difference ultimately. I don't want to keep feeling like I'm wasting my life. take all of that. Thank you. Okay, friends, I wanted to show you something. Do you see that empty trunk? I just dropped everything off at the Goodwill and it felt so good, and it's like so freeing to get rid of all of that stuff, especially because some of it was stuff that I was having a hard time letting go of. And I will say that it's one thing to declutter, like to do the process of putting things in boxes and bags, but it's another thing to actually take it someplace and donate it someplace. It can be really difficult to donate and really follow through on truly purging your home. And it was especially hard for me today because some of those things were difficult for me to declutter. But as we move into 2026, I'm really wanting to start fresh, really declutter even more and not bring new stuff in, and really continuing to pursue minimalism as I have for the last several years. But I just wanted to encourage you, if you have some stuff that you need to take to the Goodwill, throw it in your trunk and get it done today, because it does feel so good. And there is something that is so true about that idea that when we release things, when we get rid of things, and it could be physical things, but even letting go of old toxic beliefs or untrue beliefs about ourselves, or toxic patterns or toxic relationship patterns, when we let go of these things, it makes room for the new. And as we move into a new year, it is the perfect time to release, to let go, to make space for the new. Recently, I watched a really great video from Ryan Holiday. I will link it below. I really love his content. It is so inspiring. He does a great job of sharing ideas that come from the Stoics in a really relatable and digestible way. He talked about this idea, which came from the Stoics, Memento mori. This is a Latin phrase which means, remember you must die. I know, this is rather morbid, but I also think it is so true, and something I think most of us don't really want to think about. But the idea is, if we do remember we must die, we may be more intentional with our time. I know I have talked a lot about living intentionally on my channel over the years. I feel like I'm a work in progress with regards to this, but hearing this phrase, Memento mori, it ignited in me a new resolve to truly pay attention to everything that I'm doing with my time. I know I won't be perfect, and there will surely be times when I don't feel well, either physically or emotionally, making it more difficult to do meaningful things. But my point is that I can more regularly focus on doing meaningful things that are in line with my values and priorities, like spirituality, physical health, relationships, and personal growth. I'm going to kick off the new year with this goal in mind to focus on less entertainment by doing a challenge, of course. I love my challenges. And this time my husband is joining me in the challenge. I asked him a few years ago if he would do a challenge with me of removing the TV from our bedroom. Back then he was not keen on the idea, but we decided to do this together as a form of fasting. Our church does a 21-day fast at the beginning of every year, and it can be anything you choose to abstain from. We are going to quit watching TV at night, which has become a very ingrained routine for us. I'm looking forward to seeing the difference it makes for us as individuals, but also in our marriage. With New Year's resolutions, a switch can't necessarily be flipped and all things are new. But if you keep making small changes year after year, these things will become part of your everyday routines and lives.